So if you go into the interior, I'm telling you, take boobies or blobs because they're guaranteed to be on Daphnia at some point during your trip these days. It seems like almost every trip you got to pull out the arsenal. And they're also really good attractor patterns for in the morning, like when you're trying to figure out what they're on. So this blob was created by me because I went fishing with, I'm just going to say, one of Brian Chan's good friends, and he pulled out his pink blob one day on one of my favorite lakes and just absolutely hammered trout with it. And I mean, pink works everywhere for other fish, so why wouldn't it work for trout? So, and it kind of mimics that egg color too. So I'm doing this one on a jig hook so you can hang it. Normally I actually don't tie beaded blobs. I tie unbeaded, and I use my line to get them, because I fish them really shallow, you know, sometimes too, in 2-3 feet of water. So I like to use my lines to get them down. But I've had good success recently hanging blobs, so I thought I'd tie this one with a bead. So I've got a pink slotted bead. It's about a size 3.3 millimeter. And I've got an ideal jig hook by Partridge in the vise. There it is there. I'm using some white classic waxed in 8/0, and I'm just going to take, I've got some crystal flash here, or flashy blue accent, and it's in dyed over pearl pink color. This color. I really like this color for salmon as well. I'm just going to take my thread to the front, clip my flash, or my crystal flash, nice and flush, tie it in, just tie it in down the body so I get to that last wrap. I'm just going to take a couple wraps in underneath it so it doesn't twist on me, not that it's going to be that long anyways, but just in case it holds it up a little bit. So just a little bit of an accent like so. Now I'm going to take, I've got the Flybox Micro Gel Core Fritz in original biscuit color, this color here. This is most often when I do see Daphnia coming out of a fish, that's usually the color they are. Sometimes they're a little bit more peach than that, but quite often they're just like it's almost white sometimes. So this biscuit's a good color to use. So I'm just going to take this and I'm just peeling it off. I've wet it in a glass of water because it's easier to work with when it's wet. And I'm just going to take a little bit of the exposed string to tie it in with. And, you know, quite often in fly shops you don't find blobs and boobies, so it is beneficial even just to learn fly tying to tie these flies, because they're very simple too. I know I'm pretty sure Casting Loops and Cam Loops does have them, and I'm sure Little Fort Fly Shop, and I think I've seen the boobies in, you know, Sea Run and all the other fly shops, but you're not going to get all the colors you can get when you tie your own. But you will get some very good colors. I guess as they're getting more popular, I'm seeing them more in the fly shops now. You could use a pink collar on this fly. I'm just going to use the plain white thread. And I meant to say I tied that bead in forward, so the hole is at the front there, and I've got the slot at the top. Just help it hang right. So this would be good for hanging in the weeds, you know, even. They don't snag up too badly, especially the unweighted ones. That's why I fish them a lot. They're kind of like a gompus fly that way. They don't really get snagged very often. So I really like fishing blobs rather than boobies. But I'll fish a boobie if I have to. Whoops, but my hands are wet, so everything's sticking to them here. So I'm just going to take and whip finish. Try and pull it back. Still wet, but it does make that material easier to work with for sure when it's wet as opposed to dry. And get nicer wraps in, like so. 2 whips. You could put some super glue on your thread if you want. I'm not going to for the purpose of the video, but normally I would. It looks pretty good. I'm going to give it a little bit of a haircut. Kind of reminds me of Don's, one of his best blobs is I think it's a Miss Piggy, and it's white and pink. So there you have it. That's my pinky biscuit blob. I don't know what to call it yet. I think the tails are just a tiny bit too long. I'm going to shorten it just a little bit. I'm looking on the camera there. Yeah, that looks a little bit better proportioned. So make sure you give that a try in multiple colors. You know, you can use pinks, yellows, oranges, greens. I never have enough green in my box. And then combine the colors, green and pink. And, you know, use them on any line. This one, obviously, use it on probably a floating line. But, you know, if you do the unweighted ones, I use them on everything from a hover line to a type 7. So, and that's it. The blob does the job.